The female lead in this story of mine is an incredibly unlucky girl, if not downright cursed. Just when she was at the peak of her life, having just won the lottery, and before she could even enjoy her newfound wealth, she was struck by a falling rock. Just like that, she went to meet the king of hell. Even in death, she was so indignant that she caused a ruckus in the underworld. Unable to bear her antics any longer, the king of hell had no choice but to reincarnate her. With her fierce and cunning nature, she terrified everyone around her. They all relied on listening to her inner thoughts to keep her happy. Otherwise, survival was difficult. To find out exactly what happens in this story, join us as we dive in. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. On a cool, breezy night, someone's mournful cries incessantly disrupted the peace of the underworld. At that moment, in the king of hell's court, countless souls present were shaken to their core by the weeping. Their bodies went rigid with fear. The cries mixed with shrieks, and somewhere in the cacophony, one could discern the voice of a young woman. Her lamentations, filled with anguish, turned into accusations. Do you have any conscience? Any sense of justice? I died so unjustly. Even the king of hell felt helpless upon hearing these reproaches, placing a hand on his forehead and massaging his temples. This is a real headache, he muttered. Down below, the female lead, feeling utterly wronged, quickly grabbed the tongues of the black and white impermanents, stretching them out a full meter. Seeing his comrades struggling, the king of hell hastily intervened. "Hey you, stop. Let's talk this through. Let them go." The female lead stubbornly refused. "Oh no, I won't let go." Tears welling in her eyes, she began to recount her tragic life story. "Your Majesty, do you know that I lost both my parents when I was young? And on top of that, I've been incredibly unlucky. Finally, I caught a break and won 5 million. She paused, her voice choked with emotion. At this point, the female lead burst into tears. "I thought I was finally going to live the high life. But then, out of nowhere, a rock fell from the ceiling. Crash! And as if that wasn't enough, someone jumping off a building landed on me and finished me off. It's so unfair. Wah!" She sobbed even louder, tightening her grip on the tongues of the black and white impermanents, nearly making them wet themselves in pain. Her earth-shattering cries caused another rock to fall from the ceiling, this time hitting the king of hell on the head and causing him to spray tea from his nostrils. His attendants, standing nearby, began to worry about the future of the underworld. "Oh dear gods, if she keeps crying like this, even the king of hell's palace will weep along with her." Unable to endure it any longer, the king of hell quickly intervened and made an offer. Stop, don't cry anymore. I'll arrange for you to be reborn as a princess in your next life, enjoying wealth and honor. Will that do?" Hearing this, the female lead stopped crying, her face registering surprise. "A princess?" she asked, unconsciously tying the tongues of the black and white impermanents into a bow. Her eyes lit up with anticipation as she looked at the king of hell. "So, will I have parents and brothers and sisters? Will everyone there love me?" Hearing her requests, the king of hell broke out in a cold sweat. But to appease her, he forced a smile. Of course. You'll have everything you want." His attendant, standing beside him, diligently recorded her requests in a ledger. After finishing, he presented it to the king of hell. King Yama accepted the paper, tossed it forward, and swiftly performed a ritual. The restless spirit of Jujio, Princess Jujio, by virtue of the prosperity and honor enjoyed in her past life, is now reincarnated as the princess of the Western Chu Kingdom, destined for eternal wealth and glory. Go quickly, be reborn. As soon as King Yama finished speaking, within the Western Chu Kingdom, far from the bustling crowds and servants, in the cold and desolate cold palace, the cries of a newborn baby echoed. A handmaiden joyfully carried the baby and announced the good news to the woman lying on the bed. "Your Highness, congratulations. You have given birth to an adorable princess. Currently, there are already 17 princes in the palace. His Majesty has been longing for a princess these past few years." The woman, weak after childbirth, lay on the bed, her face turned inward, and sighed wearily. "It's not that simple. Although His Majesty has always longed for a princess, I am now banished to the cold palace. I cannot protect her for a lifetime. Quickly, tell everyone outside that it's a prince." Tears streamed down the woman's face as she spoke, her voice filled with pain. If it were a son, he would be imprisoned. His parents would also bear the guilt of treason. Then, she made a daring decision. From now on, let her pretend to be a boy. It will be better for her. She won't be the target of envy and jealousy. The princess, meanwhile, was drowsily opening her eyes, taking in the world. This princess was, in fact, Gigi, reborn. Just as she was smiling at her rosy new life, she was stunned by what she overheard. Wait, what? Cold Palace? Treason? And 17 princes already? This is like a huge family. At that moment, she wished she could strike King Yama with a thunderbolt. That rotten Yama! He said I'd be reborn into a loving family, surrounded by prosperity and honor. What a lie! Despondent with her fate, she closed her eyes, wanting to faint. The handmaiden, seeing this, thought she was a well-behaved child. Your Highness, look how understanding the little princess is. She's cried herself to sleep. Internally, Gigi was wailing, No, I'm so fed up I want to die again. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. Gigi, now a little older, was trying to climb the highest wall to see the world outside the cold palace. 5 years I've lived here, and I haven't even caught a glimpse of the emperor. It's not just gloomy here, it's also lacking in food and clothing. Wah, that stinking Yama tricked me. Am I supposed to live like this for the rest of my life? Just then, someone approached and, seeing Gigi dressed as a boy, mistook her for a son. The person shouted, Hey, you beggar on the old mountain, what are you doing? This person was Princess Anyang. The woman behind her was known as Noble Consort Jiang. Princess Anyang, spoiled by the emperor's favor, was incredibly arrogant. Why don't you kneel before this princess? Aren't you afraid? I'll take your lowly life. Gigi, hearing this, pointed at herself and asked, Talking about me? I'm lowly. Then she rested her chin in her hand, lost in thought. Princess Anyang, why does that name sound so familiar? Suddenly, Gigi's eyes widened in recognition. She remembered. She'd been transported into the novel, Long Live the Empress. And this Princess Anyang, she was the protagonist. It all made sense now. Her supposed father, having no daughters of his own, had brought the prince's daughter into the palace when she was just a child, doting on Anyang and treating her as his own. He'd even betrothed Anyang to the crown prince, who was utterly, madly in love with her. Then, after the war and the ensuing chaos, 10 years later, the Western Chu kingdom would fall. Fate would then lead Anyang, now Empress Fengtai Vai, to the southern kingdom, where she would rule alongside the emperor. A truly powerful protagonist. As for Gigi herself, utterly unlucky. Not only was her status precarious, forcing her to hide her true gender, but if she remembered correctly, today was the day her own father would beat her to death. The classic tragedy of a side character. Princess Anyang, irritated by Gigi's silence, approached. Hey, shorty, I'm talking to you. When she received no response, Anyang planted her hands on her hips and demanded haughtily, What's your name? Which palace are you from? Why haven't you bowed to me? Noble Consort Jiang, standing behind Anyang, assessed Gigi for a moment before interjecting. Looking at his ragged clothes, he's probably just the son of some palace maid. Seeing Gigi remain stubbornly silent, Anyang raised her hand. How dare you ignore me? Do you believe I'll destroy you right here? As the slap hurtled towards her, Gigi raised her hands to protect her face. She quickly stumbled backward, glaring at Anyang. What do you think you're doing? Get out of my way. Anyang, stunned that someone dared to speak to her that way, sputtered, Huh? Then, a wicked glint entered her eyes and a sly smile spread across her face. She burst into fake tears, wailing dramatically, Uncle, this boy stole my things. He even tried to scratch my face. It was horrible. Please, Uncle, help me. Get justice for me. Gigi, completely taken aback by Anyang's swift change of demeanor, could only stare. Who was this, Uncle? Then, she felt a presence looming behind her. Turning, she saw the man she knew as her father, though they had never met. His face impassive, the emperor commanded, Fuan, seize that little wretch. How dare he bully my Vai? I'll show him what happens. He then turned to comfort the still sobbing Anyang. There, my Vai. Don't cry. Be good. Fengtai Vai only wailed louder, and the emperor, his heart aching, pulled her into a comforting embrace. Hush now. Your face is all red from crying. Then he turned back to Gigi, his face a mask of fury. Taking in his ferocious expression, Gigi thought, Look at that face. This tyrant is ready to condemn me without even knowing the truth. He's my father, my own father. So much for a tiger wouldn't eat its cub. Suddenly, the emperor paused, a flicker of confusion crossing his features. He'd heard a voice, a whisper in his ear. What was that? Who's talking? No one here is speaking. His gaze fixed on Gigi, suspicion clouding his eyes. Could it be that brat? But his mouth isn't moving. At this moment, the emperor seemed to realize something. A thought struck him. Could this be the boy's inner voice? He turned and questioned the eunuch behind him. Whose child is this? What is his status? The eunuch bowed respectfully and replied, Your Majesty, this child is the son of Consort Li, banished to the cold palace. He is your Majesty's 18th prince. Hearing this, the emperor turned away in disgust, unwilling to look at his 18th son again. A useless boy. What value is there in a son, anyway? He then ordered the two eunuchs behind him. All right, someone drag this wretched child out and beat him to death. The eunuchs obeyed, quickly seizing Gigi's arms. Infuriated by this treatment, Gigi continued to scold. You tyrannical emperor, what's so good about her? She's just a child who lies without blinking. I didn't steal anything from her. It's ridiculous that you believe her. Look how many people she has around her. How could I possibly steal from her? Gigi's fists clenched, her voice rising in outrage at the injustice. It's more likely she saw how handsome I am and wanted to scratch my face. She just makes up a story, sheds a few tears, and he believes her. What a joke. Before being dragged away, Gigi turned to glare at her nominal father. You're a tyrant who can't distinguish right from wrong. No wonder the Western Chu kingdom will fall in 10 years. These words reached the emperor's ears, every single one. Fear and doubt warred within him. He turned back to look at his child being dragged away. What? My Western Chu will fall? Is this true or false? Am I the only one who can hear this boy's thoughts? Can no one else hear them? The emperor's inner turmoil was brief. He quickly made a decision. Wait. Gigi, confused by the call, turned back to look. The emperor raised his hand to stop the eunuchs. Leave him. I have questions for him. Gigi's face was a mixture of confusion and surprise. What's going on now? Does this mean I don't have to be reincarnated yet? I was planning on giving King Yama a piece of my mind. The emperor looked sternly at Princess Anyang and asked, Anyang, tell me, what exactly did he steal from you? Suddenly addressed, Anyang flinched. She gasped. Though worried, she quickly devised a plan. Her hand, hidden behind her back, slipped the bracelet off her wrist. Why is this happening? Usually when I accuse someone, Imperial Uncle just has them executed. Why is he asking so many questions this time? Thinking fast, she tossed the gold bracelet towards a nearby tree. Launching into her performance, she cried and pointed towards the bracelet. Imperial Uncle, he stole my gold bracelet. When I confronted him, he threw it over there by the tree. Look, Gigi frowned, glancing towards the bracelet. How stupid. Of all the places to throw it, she throws it behind herself. Anyone with eyes can see she threw it herself. Princess Anyang's eyes flicked towards the emperor, a disdainful thought crossing her mind. Unless someone is blind, they can clearly see what's happening. The emperor, overhearing her inner voice, felt a tremor of anger. The nerve of this little brat, looking at me like that. Let me tell you, I have eyes too. Anyang, oblivious to his internal fury, basked in the emperor's apparent disappointment. Father, don't you know how much you've always loved me? Anything I wanted, you gave it to me. But I never expected you to lie so blatantly. Do I have to summon the guards before you confess? Anyang, realizing the tide had turned against her, panicked. She immediately dropped to her knees, feigning remorse. Uncle Emperor, please don't be angry. Vivi is wrong. Vivi won't do it again. Satisfied that the culprit had been identified, the emperor, his displeasure evident, waved his hand. Someone, take Feng Kai Vai to the Empress Dowager. She can return to noble consort Jiang only when she's learned her lesson and stops lying. Gigi, observing from the sidelines, feigned surprise at the emperor's decisive action. He propped his chin on his hand, thinking, wow, has the tyrant's conscience finally awakened? Has he suddenly become intelligent? The emperor, hearing this internal monologue, seethed with silent rage, barely managing to contain his fury. He gritted his teeth, practically wanting to devour Gigi alive. Gigi, sensing the emperor's ire, thought, yikes, that's scary. Anyang rushed to her ally for help. Auntie, please save Vivi. Wah. Noble consort Jiang, her mind racing, felt a burning anxiety. Vivi absolutely cannot be taken away. If she goes, His Majesty won't visit my chambers anymore. Putting on an ingratiating smile, she pleaded for Anyang. Your Majesty, can you really bear to see Vivi suffer? Please forgive her this time. You love Vivi the most. The emperor, showing no respect for her position, pointed a finger directly at her face. Silence. Isn't Vivi's lying a result of your teaching? From today onwards, you're confined to your quarters to reflect on your behavior. You're not to leave without my explicit permission. Turning around, the emperor spotted Gigi attempting a discreet escape. He still couldn't believe he could hear his 18th son's thoughts. He was equally astonished that the boy's inner words had proven true. A wave of questions washed over him. But how can I hear his thoughts? The emperor moved to intercept Gigi. He studied the boy more closely. Could this child be some kind of demon? Gigi, trembling, began to cry. This matter is resolved, isn't it? Why is this old tyrant looking at me so strangely? He's not planning to kill me again, is he? I don't want to be beaten to death. It hurts. The emperor drew closer to Gigi, thinking this boy is even more beautiful than his 17th brother. He continued to gaze at Gigi, thinking if he were a girl, he would surely be adored. What a pity. The emperor turned and addressed a servant. Fuin, escort the 18th prince back to his quarters. Gigi, watching the emperor depart, thought, Father is actually quite intelligent today. If I had known he was this perceptive, I wouldn't have been so worried about those villains deceiving him and locking my mother away in the cold palace. But my father isn't much better, Gigi mused. Just wait until he gets to the bridge in the middle of the lake. It'll collapse, and he'll break his leg. He's always been indifferent to mother and me anyway. Let him suffer the consequences. The emperor, glancing over at Gigi, thought, that little brat is cursing me in his head. He thinks I don't know. The eunuch began to lead Gigi away. 18th prince, I can only escort you this far. You must return now. Gigi tugged at the eunuch's sleeve. Eunuch, remember to remind my father, His Majesty, after he arrives at the lake by the Imperial Flower Garden, to wait for a cup of tea before crossing the bridge. That little brat said the Western Chu Kingdom will fall in 10 years. That's a huge claim. I don't know how to verify it. But he also said my leg would break. That I can test. The eunuch, Fuin, seeing the emperor about to leave, called out, Your Majesty, Your Majesty, wait a moment. Fuin spoke to the emperor, a tremor in his voice. Your Majesty, please have a cup of tea before continuing. Noticing Fu An's unusual demeanor, the emperor thought, it must be that little brat. He must have told Fu and to stop me. At least he has some conscience. It wasn't a waste of effort. The emperor coughed a few times. Bring me tea. I'll drink a cup and then continue. 5 minutes later, having finished his tea, the emperor pondered. It seems the little brat's words might not be true after all. A voice called out from behind, Your Majesty. A woman entered and announced, Several national advisors and ministers await you in the imperial study. The woman, head attendant Liu, continued, They say it's an urgent matter. The emperor stood up immediately. Very well, let us proceed to the imperial study. As he was about to leave, a loud crash echoed from behind. Fuin and head attendant Liu cried out in unison, their voices filled with alarm. Your Majesty, the bridge in the middle of the lake has collapsed. Fuin was visibly shaken. Thank goodness you didn't cross. The consequences would have been unimaginable. It's fortunate the 18th prince warned us. The emperor was stunned. It actually collapsed? It seems that boy truly can foresee the future. A surge of satisfaction, masked by a look of grave concern, washed over him. This is no demon child. He's clearly a good omen. If I had crossed that bridge, the emperor thought I would be either dead or crippled. A kingdom without a leader will surely crumble sooner or later. He addressed head attendant Liu. Dismiss those waiting for me. He added, have only the national advisor remain. I will be there shortly. Head attendant Liu inquired, Where are you going, Your Majesty? The emperor replied coldly, To the cold palace. Meanwhile, Gigi had returned to his quarters. Mother, I'm back. His mother, seeing him, rushed forward and embraced him. Ngi, you frightened me to death. Your brother went out for a while, and something happened. He was imprisoned. I'll never see him again. You're all I have left, Gigi. Gigi gently wiped away his mother's tears. Don't cry, mother. He smiled at her reassuringly. When I grow up, I'll give you a good life. But behind his smile, his brow furrowed. My brother was wrongly accused. Now is not the time to rescue him. I must wait for someone to return to the palace first. Then I can make my move. Seeing her son's display of filial piety, noble consort Zhang's heart swelled with joy. She stroked his head, praising him. My sweet Gigi, as long as you are safe, your mother is happy. We don't need a luxurious life. Gigi, looking at his mother, winked playfully. Mother is so beautiful and kind. Father must be blind to have overlooked you. Gigi, she chuckled, her voice laced with affectionate reproach. You're so young, yet your heart carries such heavy burdens. She paused, a wistful sadness in her eyes. My child, from the moment you were born, I've been able to hear the whispers of your heart. You truly are a child to be pitied. Their tender moment was interrupted by a court lady rushing in. It's not good. It's not good, Your Highness. The Emperor is coming. The noble consort's face paled, her composure crumbling. Why would the Emperor come to the cold palace? This can't be good. Fear gripping her, she turned to her son. Gigi, hide quickly. Let me handle this. No matter what happens, don't come out. Do you understand? Seeing his mother's distress, Gigi tried to reassure her. Mother, don't be afraid. Perhaps father has come to take us out of here. A melancholic sigh escaped noble consort Zhang's lips. Gigi, we may be confined here for the rest of our lives. Don't entertain such fanciful hopes. A sound caught her attention, and she turned towards the entrance. Standing there was the Emperor, the man who occupied her every thought. The eunuch's voice rang out. His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor, has arrived. From a moment he stepped into the cold palace. The Emperor's gaze swept over the surroundings. The shabbiness of the furnishings pricked at his conscience. He hadn't realized how desolate the cold palace truly was. This is no place for anyone to live, he thought to himself. Seeing the Emperor for the first time in this desolate place, noble consort Jiang, her heart pounding, pulled her son down beside her to kneel. Your servant greets His Imperial Majesty. Long live the Emperor. 10,000 years. The Emperor's eyes lit up as they fell upon noble consort Jiang. Even in simple, worn clothing, her beauty shone through. Like a lotus flower blooming in the water, he mused. He couldn't help but marvel at her appearance. She seemed even more captivating than she had years ago. Lost in thought, he extended a hand to help her rise. There's no need for such formalities. Please be seated. Noble consort Jiang, clutching her precious son close, tried to maintain a semblance of calm despite the turmoil within her. The Emperor picked up a teacup, his expression uncertain. He looked from mother to son, weighing his options. Nini savet mi lai. By all rights, he should be rewarded. But I can't reveal his ability to foresee the future in front of so many people. What if he resents me later and refuses to use his gift for me? The Emperor's silence and heavy sighs filled the room with a suffocating tension. Finally, noble consort Jiang, summoning her courage, met his gaze. Your Majesty, she inquired gently, is the tea not to your liking? Suddenly, the Emperor had a brainwave. He looked at noble consort Jiang with a deep, meaningful gaze. Consort Jiang, he began, his voice laced with a newfound tenderness. These past few days, I've been reconsidering your case, the one concerning your alleged treasonous communication with the enemy. I've realized there might be some discrepancies, some errors in the investigation. I intend to reopen the case and examine it thoroughly. You've diligently raised our 18th prince, Gigi, these past years. Tell me, would you perhaps like to leave the cold palace? Noble consort Jiang's expression shifted from apprehension to utter astonishment. She could only manage a gasp, seemingly unable to believe this sudden turn of fortune. She quickly knelt, offering a shaky bow of gratitude. Your Majesty, she murmured, this concubine thanks you for your immense grace. Gigi, standing beside his mother, widened his eyes at this unexpected development, thinking to himself, looks like that old man's conscience finally kicked in. If he keeps this up, I might actually start liking him. Overhearing his son's thoughts, a smile spread across the Emperor's face. He chuckled, glancing at Gigi. Little rascal, as if I need your affection. The entire empire adores me. I hardly need yours. But then, a flicker of sadness in Gigi's eyes caught his attention. He heard his son's next thought, but I suppose he doesn't really need me to like him anyway. Gigi's face fell, a sigh escaping his lips, heavy with disappointment. What were we even thinking? He mused. The Emperor felt a pang of sympathy, a strange tug at his heart. This poor child. Just then, Eunuch Fuan approached, his voice low and respectful. Your Majesty, he announced, messengers from the Imperial study await. They say it's an urgent matter. At this, The emperor rose to leave, but not before turning to address his trusted eunuch. Fuin, he instructed, see to noble consort Jiang and the 18th prince. Personally oversee their move from the cold palace to more suitable quarters, and visit the imperial treasury. Select some appropriate gifts for them. Ensure this is handled with the utmost care. Noble consort Jiang, still kneeling, was overwhelmed by this unexpected kindness. Your Majesty, she stammered, this concubine is eternally grateful. Gigi, however, was lost in thought, recalling details from a novel he'd read. He's probably off to discuss the military situation at the front lines, he pondered. Oh, right. This is a big one. I remember now. The Western Chu Kingdom not only loses this battle, but they lose 30,000 soldiers. The emperor, halfway to the door, paused, straining to hear his son's inner monologue. Gigi continued his train of thought, oblivious to his father's eavesdropping. Western Chu doesn't just suffer heavy losses, he thought, but the old man has to cede territory as compensation. What a disaster. The emperor froze, a mixture of disbelief and apprehension washing over him. Defeat? 30,000 casualties? If this is true, wouldn't that cripple Western Chu? Could they truly be facing annihilation? The emperor remained rooted to the spot. Eunuch Fu Un, though hesitant, felt compelled to remind him of his duties. Your Majesty, he ventured, they are waiting urgently. Shouldn't you be going? The emperor abruptly turned and walked back to the table, sitting down. Grasping for a flimsy excuse, he said, I find myself rather parched. I'll just finish this tea before I go. Gigi, puzzled by his father's lingering gaze, thought, what's he staring at me for? Meanwhile, the emperor was burning with impatience, silently pleading, come on, you little brat, spit it out. Tell me more about what you just remembered. Contrary to the emperor's hopes, Gigi rubbed his eyes and turned to his mother. Mother, he yawned, I'm sleepy. I'm going to bed. Noble consort Jiang smiled gently. Yes, of course, dear. You must be tired after running around all day. Watching the mother and son drift off to sleep, the emperor's face darkened and he cursed inwardly. Your father's kingdom is on the verge of collapse. He's practically at death's door, and you can still sleep? His heart a turmoil of conflicting emotions. The emperor walked towards the bed where Gigi lay, slumbering. Gigi slept soundly, drooling slightly, murmuring in his sleep, sleep well. The emperor watched, speechless. Should I just kick this kid awake? Impatience gnawing at him, he scooped Gigi up and began to shake him gently. Hey, little one, wake up, wake up. But despite the emperor's pleas, Gigi remained lost in his pleasant dreams. The emperor stared down at him, defeated, feeling a murder of crows descend upon his head. Noble consort Zhang's eyes welled with tears as she witnessed this scene. She assumed the emperor disliked her son and was treating him harshly. Your Majesty, she pleaded, even if you don't like Gigi, you can't treat him like this. The emperor, though inwardly fuming, forced a strained smile and fabricated an excuse. I don't dislike him. I just wanted to sleep with him. To the astonishment of eunuch Fu and noble consort Jiang, the emperor carried Gigi towards the bed. Yes, that's right. Come to think of it, I haven't slept beside him since he was born. So now I want to be with him. You too, leave us. The emperor sat on the bed, chin resting on his hand, a whirlwind of thoughts swirling in his mind as he addressed his drowsy son. Gigi, our Western Chu is about to fall. What are we going to do? Though asleep, Gigi vaguely heard someone's voice and instinctively responded in his mind. The defeat. It must be because that spy from the Southern Kingdom stole our military intelligence. Then he reported it to the Southern Kingdom, and that's why Western Chu is in this predicament. Hearing Gigi's inner thoughts, the emperor felt a flicker of understanding. So that's why Western Chu was defeated. The emperor leaned closer to Gigi's ear and whispered, was there really a spy who stole the military reports? Gigi turned over, unconsciously replying in his mind, isn't it obvious? It was Consort Wei who forged them. She pretended to be pregnant and spent all day in father's study. That's how the reports were stolen. The loss of the reports led to the defeat on the battlefield. If father had created false military reports for her to take, wouldn't Western Chu be able to turn the tables? We could turn the situation around and defeat the Southern Kingdom. Gigi, half asleep, swung his fist in emphasis, accidentally striking the emperor square in the face. Smack! The emperor clutched his stinging cheek, but instead of anger, a surge of excitement coursed through him. Brilliant. This little one is truly clever. I almost got so worked up I would have eliminated consort way right away. That would have been like stirring up a hornet's nest. Delighted with Gi's insightful strategy, the emperor bent down and kissed his forehead. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have thought of using consort way to defeat the southern kingdom. Having achieved his purpose, the emperor smiled and prepared to leave. Anzai, Ningi, Imut Go. You sleep tight. Gigi rubbed his face, murmuring, "Ugh, why did it feel like a fly buzzing around my ear just now?" The next morning, after packing their belongings, Eunuch Fuan bowed respectfully to noble consort Jiang. "Noble consort, everything is packed. Shall we move to the Thursday Tui residence now?" Consort Wei lingered, reluctant to leave the woman who had been by her side for so many years. She looked back at Nanny K with affection and addressed the eunuch. "Eunuch Fuan, thanks to Nanny K, Ninth was able to be born safely. These past years, only Nanny K has helped us, so today I want to take her out of the cold palace. I wonder if that's possible." Hearing these words, Nanny K was deeply moved, tears welling in her eyes as she called out, "Your Highness." Witnessing this heartwarming scene, Eunuch Fuan smiled and replied, "Of course, Your Highness. You may decide. I will inform the Department of Internal Affairs later." Only then did Consort Wei relax, a radiant smile illuminating her face. "Of course, Ninth will be happy too." Gigi tugged on his mother's hand, grinning. "Mother, this trip is wonderful. We can bring Nanny K to the Thursday Tui residence and live together." He held his mother's hand, beaming at the sky above. "From today onwards, it will be a new beginning. I will never return to this dreary cold palace." Watching the three figures depart, a few palace maids whispered amongst themselves, their voices tinged with envy. "I'm so envious of Nanny K. If only I had been nicer to Consort Wei and Ninth. Life is truly unpredictable. Who could have imagined that a woman who entered the cold palace could ever leave? 7 days passed quickly. In the imperial study, the emperor sat reading a report. I listened to Ninth's intuition and fabricated the military report for Consort Wei to steal. I also ordered the troops of the front lines to set an ambush for the southern kingdom. And as expected, we won a great victory. The emperor placed the report down. He leaned back in his chair and exhaled in satisfaction. After so many years of fighting the southern kingdom, this is the first time we've achieved such a decisive victory. The emperor strolled out of the study to meet with his confidants. Two figures immediately bowed, their voices filled with flattery. "Your Majesty is wise. The southern kingdom will surely send envoys to sue for peace. Your Majesty brilliantly used a spy to transmit false intelligence, leading to a resounding counter-offensive victory." The emperor's affection for Gi swelled. To the Thursday Tui residence. Just then, a court official approached. "Your Majesty, I have an urgent matter to report." The imperial astronomer prostrated himself, his head bowed low. "Your Majesty, I am dying." The emperor was taken aback, beads of sweat forming on his brow. "Imperial astronomer, you seem perfectly healthy. Why speak such ominous words?" The imperial astronomer shook his head and continued, "Before I die, I must tell your Majesty something. Last night, I observed the celestial signs and discovered that in 15 years, Western Chu will fall. But there is a solution, the 18th. Prince." The imperial astronomer abruptly stopped, having almost said princess. He quickly corrected himself. "The 18th prince. Your Majesty, this old servant only wishes to say that no matter what happens, you must trust the 18th prince. You must protect the 18th prince." The imperial astronomer's grave expression left no doubt that he was serious, causing a wave of tension to wash over the emperor. "Understood. I will remember." "Imperial astronomer, I have a question for you. Is it my fate to never have a daughter?" The imperial astronomer immediately lowered his head. "The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. I beg your Majesty's forgiveness." As he spoke, a sharp pain shot through his chest. He clutched his chest, groaning in agony. Within moments, he collapsed to the ground. The emperor and Eunuch Fuan stared, mouths agape, at the scene before them. "Imperial astronomer, what's happened?" After a quick examination, the eunuch confirmed the unthinkable. The imperial astronomer was dead. The scene shifts to Consort Wei and Gi happily swinging on a swing set. Suddenly, a voice rings out, announcing the emperor's arrival. Both mother and son turn to see the emperor, his face ashen and drained of color. Panic churned within him. Was the imperial astronomer's death fated, or was it a consequence of revealing heavenly secrets? The prophecy of Western shoes fall in 10 years? Had he been punished by the heavens? Consort Wei and Gigi immediately knelt, bowing in respect. Long live your majesty. Seeing the emperor's somber expression, Gigi felt a flicker of unease. Didn't we win? Why isn't this pretend dad happy? He wondered. He stroked his chin, as if recalling something he'd read. Oh, right. If I remember correctly, the imperial astronomer dies today. The emperor, overhearing these thoughts, jolted and stared intently at Gigi. This child, he knows about this? Unable to contain his agitation, he placed a hand heavily on Gigi's shoulder, startling the boy. The emperor looked directly into Gigi's eyes, searching for answers. The imperial astronomer's sudden death. I don't know if it was fate or something else. Gigi, bewildered by the emperor's intensity, tilted his head in confusion. What's this pretend dad talking about? Of course, the imperial astronomer died of natural causes. Hearing this, the emperor feigned overwhelming relief. Oh, he died of natural causes? That's wonderful. Unable to contain his joy, he swooped down, embracing Gigi and planting a kiss on his cheek. This is truly joyous news. I won't have to be tormented for the rest of my life. Gigi's face flushed crimson. He couldn't believe what had just happened. Holy moly, did that old man just kiss me? He wailed internally, my pure body is defiled. Seeing Gigi's disgusted expression, the emperor felt a pang of rejection. You find my kiss so repulsive? Well, I'll just have to make you even more uncomfortable. Acting on impulse, he puckered his lips and planted another kiss on Gigi's cheek. Tears welled in Gigi's eyes. He tried to dodge, but couldn't escape. Consort Wei, watching the affectionate exchange between father and son, felt a warmth spread through her heart. Unable to resist the surge of emotion, she stepped forward and kissed Gigi on his other cheek, creating a picture of familial bliss. Overwhelmed by affection, Gigi was dumbfounded. Don't people say families shouldn't share the same thought process? Why do both my mother and pretend dad have such strange brains? They just kiss whenever they feel like it. Tears streamed down his face. Even though I didn't have parents in my past life, I feel truly blessed to have them now. His inner voice caused both Consort Wei and the emperor to freeze, a pang of sorrow striking their hearts. Gigi didn't have parents in his past life. Hearing this, they embraced him even tighter, as if trying to compensate for the love he lacked in his previous life. My sweet Gigi, Consort Wei whispered, I will give you all my love in this life. The emperor added, I promise, my son, I will treat you well. After the emperor's departure, a stream of exquisite jewelry and lavish gifts arrived for Consort Wei and Gigi. Nanny K, upon seeing the treasures, was overcome with joy, her eyes wide with delight. Your Highness, she exclaimed, these are all rewards from the emperor. Such generosity. None of the other consorts have received anything like this. Gigi, his eyes gleaming with anticipation, picked up a delicate girl's dress and asked his mother, Mother, may I wear girls' clothing now? Consort Wei paused, considering, before gently replying, Gigi, I believe it's best not to, not yet. A shadow of sadness crossed Consort Wei's face as she explained to her son, My dear Gigi, I have yet to clear your maternal grandparents' names of the false accusations of treason and collusion. They remain exiled in the most desolate, frigid corner of the empire, far from home. Our own position is still too precarious. A flicker of disappointment crossed Gigi's features, but he nodded in understanding, accepting his mother's words without protest. At that moment, Nanny Kate entered, announcing, Your Highness, Consortan wishes to pay you a visit. How shall we prepare the refreshments? The name Consortan sparked a flicker of suspicion in Gigi's eyes. He turned his head slightly, a thoughtful expression on his face. Consort Tan is coming here, he mused internally. She's aligned with Feng Kaiwei and Empress Jiang. Why would she suddenly decide to visit us? His mind raced, drawing upon the countless palace intrigue novels he had devoured in his past life. The pieces clicked into place. Ah, he realized, every consort in this harem craves the emperor's favor. Consort Tan must be scheming to find a way to move in with the current favorite mother. Gigi's thoughts darkened, and once she's in, he thought grimly, the consort sharing quarters with her invariably meets an untimely end. A wave of fear washed over him. If she manages to move in here, he worried, Mother and I could be in mortal danger. Consort Wei, attuned to her son's anxieties, overheard his silent fears. A frown creased her brow. Indeed, she thought, it's true what they say. You can know a person's face but not their heart. Determined to protect herself and her son, Consort Wei swiftly made a decision. Nanny K, she instructed, simply prepare some light refreshments. There's no need for anything elaborate. Nanny K looked surprised. But Your Highness, she questioned, you've always insisted we prepare Consort Tan's favorite dishes and have them ready upon her arrival. Consort Wei walked over to Gi Gi, gently stroking his head. My precious child, she explained softly. During all those years I was confined to the cold palace, Consort Tan never once inquired about my well-being. Not even when my life hung in the balance did she offer a single word of concern. If her heart isn't sincere, why should I go out of my way for her? Nanny K, hearing Consort Wei's words, released a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Indeed, Your Highness, she agreed. You always spoke of Consort Tan as a dear sister, but this old servant often wondered why she never once visited you during your confinement. It's good that you see things clearly now. Meanwhile, Consort Tan, brimming with confidence, spoke to Feng Kaiwei. Lady Feng, you needn't worry. I've assured Empress Jiang that I will undoubtedly succeed in securing a place at the Thursday Tui residence. A sinister glint flickered in Consort Tan's eyes. And once I'm there, she continued, her voice laced with venom, I'll see to it that Consort Wei and her brat meet their end. If I fail, I'll present my own head to Consort Wei. Feng Kaiwei, satisfied with Consort Tan's ruthless determination, nodded. Very well, Consort Tan. We shall see. Success will be handsomely rewarded. Wearing a deceptively sweet smile, Consort Tan approached Consort Wei. Dear sister, she chirped, feigning warmth. It's been far too long. I simply had to come and visit you. Consort Wei, holding Gi Gi close, responded with cool indifference. If you've come to visit, sister, she said, her voice betraying no emotion, please have a seat. Consort Tan was taken aback by this lukewarm reception. Consort Wei, it's been so long. Shouldn't you be rushing to embrace me, pouring out your heart? Failing to elicit the desired reaction, Consort Tan swiftly changed her target, approaching Gi Gi with a saccharine smile. My, how big the 18th prince has grown. Let this Annie Tan give you a hug. Gi Gi, inwardly terrified by this wolf in sheep's clothing, silently pleaded, Don't touch me, you wicked woman. Mother, save me. Just as Consort Tan's hand reached out, Consort Wei, having sensed her son's fear, intercepted it. He's shy around strangers. There's no need for such close contact, Consort Tan. Consort Tan froze, a forced smile plastered on her face. Oh, very well then. Consort Tan sat down, glancing around the room. My, what lovely quarters you have, sister. Quite unlike my Thursday Tui residence, which is so plain and drafty too. Perhaps you should ask the Bureau of Internal Affairs to see to it. Consort Wei replied coolly. Why tell me? I can hardly repair it myself. Consort Tan put on a pitiful expression, tears welling in her eyes. You know I have no children, sister. Those in the Bureau of Internal Affairs constantly bully me. They would never lift a finger to help. Consort Wei inwardly scoffed. She reached out, fingering the fabric of Consort Tan's robe. Is that so? But this silk, it appears to be woven from the finest shoe brocade. If they truly mistreat you, how could you afford such luxury? Caught her lie, Consort Tan quickly shifted tactics. Haha, I was just jesting, sister. The truth is, I was worried about you being so lonely here, and I wanted to move in with you. Consort Wei raised an eyebrow. After all these years in the cold palace, I never noticed your concern. Now that my fortunes have improved, you suddenly feel such sisterly affection? What are you really after? Consort Tan, stung by the accuracy of the accusation, stammered, How can you say such a thing? Our friendship goes back to childhood. Heaven and earth can bear witness to my sincerity. Feigning indignation, she rose to her feet. You wound me, sister. If you wish to sever our ties, just say so. There's no need for these veiled accusations. Consort Tan's mind raced. Her plan was failing. Why was Consort Wei so guarded? But surely, she thought, the threat of a broken friendship will soften her. Once her guard is down, just as Consort Tan was certain Consort Wei would call her back, Consort Wei calmly ordered her attendants, show Consort Tan out. Consort Tan, enraged, cried, "How dare you treat me this way? Consort Wei, you'll regret this." Gigi, witnessing his mother's strength, thought with admiration, "Mother is amazing." She drove Consort Tan away. Another danger averted. Consort Wei, overhearing her son's thoughts, couldn't help but smile. Nanny K, her face etched with sadness, approached Consort Wei. "Your Highness," she reported, "the 10th Prince and 11th Prince have arrived. They are waiting at the entrance, hesitant to enter." Consort Wei, her voice firm, instructed, "Nanny, tell them to leave." Gigi, the 18th Prince, stood behind his mother, chin resting thoughtfully on his hand. Why is mother so cold to 10th brother and 11th brother? He wondered. They were so close to 13th brother. After what happened to 13th brother, they tried everything to save him. Gigi continued his internal monologue. They even vowed not to marry or have children. They risked their own lives. But mother doesn't know this, so she refuses to see them. It will make them feel guilty even in death. Gigi sighed, then tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mother, can you let them in?" They were very good to 13th brother. Hearing her son's heartfelt plea, Consort Wei seemed to understand. Tears welled in her eyes as she softly replied, "All right, I will invite them in." Upon seeing Consort Wei, the two princes bowed deeply. "Consort Wei," they said, "my brother and I have come to congratulate you on your release from the Cold Palace. We will think of a way to save 13th brother." Outside, the two princes, filled with remorse, fidgeted nervously, unsure of what else to say. Gigi, observing from a distance, smiled faintly. Consort Wei, her voice gentle, addressed the two princes. "Since you are here, would you like some tea and cakes?" Surprise flickered across the princes' faces. They turned to each other, whispering, "Did you hear that? Consort Wei is offering us tea and cakes." Before, there were only harsh words. As if sensing their thoughts, Consort Wei smiled warmly and took their hands. "During my 3 years in the Cold Palace," she said, "I experienced the coldness of those I once trusted. I know you have kind hearts. My past behavior was due to my inability to understand your intentions." "No, it was our fault," the princes replied. "We were not understanding, and we angered your highness. We will not be like that again." "Gigi," Consort Wei called, "come here and greet your second brother." Hearing his name, Gigi happily approached the two princes. Looking at them, his face lit up with admiration. "Wow," he thought, "second brother is so handsome." The two princes looked at each other, confused. They couldn't see Gigi, yet they heard a voice in their minds. "Es Nini Pai Sing Me." One thought, "But Gigi isn't speaking. I can hear Gigi's thoughts." The other realized, "I must keep this a secret. We are his older brothers. We must protect him." They both rushed forward, vying to hug Gigi. "Brother, you've been hugging him for a while now." "It's my turn," one exclaimed. "Nonsense. I just hug him. My hands are still warm," the other retorted. The emperor, arriving at that moment, heard the cheerful laughter. "What's all this commotion?" he asked. "Why is it so lively here today? Someone tell me what's going on." The emperor walked over and scooped Gigi into his arms. My, 10th brother has grown taller," he remarked. Looking at the 10th prince, he noticed his sullen expression. "Your complexion isn't very good," he observed. "Did some scoundrel upset you? Tell me who it is, and I will deal with them." The 10th prince, his face glum, didn't dare tell the truth. "Your Majesty, I wouldn't dare," he mumbled. "I'm just not feeling well. Perhaps I ate something that disagreed with me." A nearby eunuch thought to himself, "It's clear that the 10th prince is upset because his Majesty took 9th prince from his arms. And his Majesty is still asking why." The emperor pointed towards the 10th prince. "Go to the imperial physician and get checked out," he ordered. 11th, you go with him." Both princes, dejected after being scolded, shuffled away. "Ugh," the 10th prince mumbled. "I knew I shouldn't have used that excuse. I still wanted to spend more time with 11th brother." Lunchtime was approaching. "I'm this old," he continued, "and I've never even eaten with father." Just as their spirits reached their lowest point, a rescuing voice, their younger brother, Gigi's, piped up from behind. "Father, 9th brother really likes second brother. Second brother only has a tummy ache because he's hungry, and 9th brother wants to eat with his older brothers. I wonder if that's all right." The emperor beamed indulgently. "Of course it is. Whatever 9th brother wants. You two stay and eat with us." The two princes, stunned, could only stare at each other, a mixture of surprise and joy dawning on their faces. They turned to look back as a lavish spread of food was brought forth. Observing the tension in his older brother's faces, Gigi pondered thoughtfully. Why isn't second brother eating? He keeps looking at that pretend father. He must be scared of him. I have to think of a way to help second brother. The warmth of their little brother's concern spread through the older princes. The emperor's favoritism towards Gigi was growing more evident by the day. 18th brother is so good, the 10th prince thought. He's even worried about me. As Gigi turned to look at the emperor, he noticed something amiss. Why does pretend father keep staring at mother like that? That look, it's like. He paused, the image of a wolf flashing through his mind. Pervert, he muttered under his breath. His quiet utterance had the effect of freezing the entire table. The emperor stiffened, a vein throbbing in his temple. One of the princes choked, spraying a mouthful of food across the table. Gigi scooped up a spoonful of carrots and offered it to the emperor. Pretend father, eat more, he said sweetly, his inner thoughts a different story. Pretend father, oh, pretend father, look at the food, not mother with that look. The emperor's hand trembled, but he forced a smile. Just then, a eunuch approached and announced, Your Majesty, Princess Anyang is waiting outside. She begs for your forgiveness. The emperor's face darkened. That unruly child. What's she doing here? Disrupting my meal. If she wants to kneel, let her kneel. Outside, the rain began to fall. Fong Kai-wei remained kneeling, her parents hovering over her with an umbrella. The attending servants whispered amongst themselves. Why is Princess Anyang kneeling out here? Her knees must be aching. Doesn't the emperor feel any pity? Her mother pleaded, Wei Wei, the rain is heavy. Your body is so frail. How can you kneel in this downpour? Her father, Minister Fong, fumed. How dare they humiliate my precious daughter like this? Get up, child. I'll take you home. He then raised his voice, calling towards the interior. She is the only princess in the imperial palace. I don't believe His Majesty would be so heartless. Come, let's go. Fong Kai-wei refused to budge. No, I won't go. If Uncle doesn't forgive me, I won't get up. She clenched her fists, her resolve hardening. I must be forgiven. Otherwise, I'll lose all my favor and privilege. Inside Consort Li's chambers, several servants rushed in to report. Your Majesty, Prince Duan and his wife are about to take the princess home. Yes, Your Majesty. They're about to take the princess, the one you worked so hard to keep in the palace, back home. Your Majesty, they're about to take the only princess of the imperial family home. Gigi listened with a growing sense of annoyance. It's obvious that the princess is deliberately causing trouble. That's why pretend father sent her away. She took a large bite of her cake, settling in to watch the drama unfold. Prince Duan and his wife were utterly clueless. How could they possibly think they could threaten her pretend father, the emperor? The emperor, overhearing Gigi's thoughts, looked at him with an indulgent, mischievous glint in his eyes, silently praising him. That little rascal, worthy of being my son. He truly understands me. Gigi, sensing a shift in the atmosphere, quickly glanced back. Why is pretend father looking at me with that cheerful expression? It's rather unsettling. The emperor rose, his voice ringing with authority. Someone, since they dare to leave and threaten me, I shall grant them their wish. Let them go. Having delivered his command, he struck a majestic pose, showcasing his imperial dignity for Gigi's benefit. Gigi, unfazed by the unfolding events, continued to eat his cake with relish. The eunuch, acknowledging the order, went to relay the message. Quickly, escort Prince Duan, his wife, and Princess Anyang out of the palace. Without a summons from His Majesty, they are forbidden from entering again. Prince Duan's entire family was stunned. How could this be happening? How could the emperor not keep them? Didn't he adore their daughter? Didn't she always get what she wanted? Anyang glared at her parents with undisguised annoyance. If you two hadn't insisted on taking me out of the palace, if you hadn't angered His Majesty with this whole affair, I wouldn't be banished. Anyang's eyes flicked to a nearby pot of lotus flowers, her mind racing. She needed an excuse, a way to stay in the palace. Only by staying here would she have a chance. With a determined glint in her eyes, she gritted her teeth and made a decision. She lunged towards the lotus pot. The eunuch tried to stop her, but it was too late. A moment later, the eunuch approached the emperor. Your Majesty, the princess fell into the lotus pond and fainted. She needs to rest in the palace. She is, after all, your only daughter. The emperor scowled, immediately retorting, "Who cares about someone else's daughter? I have my own." The emperor's gaze shifted to Gigi, his voice softening with affection. Ngi. Hearing his name, Gigi immediately went on high alert, shielding himself with his hands. Hey, pretend father, your smile is terrifying." The emperor held up a dress, advancing towards him. "Gigi, isn't this the dress you dropped?" The eunuch looked on in utter bewilderment. "How did he become a daughter?" The emperor began his coaxing. "Such a beautiful dress. Don't you want to wear it?" Gigi, practically suffocating in the emperor's embrace, waved his hands in refusal. I don't want to. The emperor whispered in his ear, sweetening the deal. "If you wear it, I'll reward you with 500 taels of gold." The eunuchs and servants watched, sweating nervously. His Majesty is desperate for a daughter. He's actually asking the 18th prince to wear a girl's dress. This is unusual, but the 18th prince is a boy. He definitely won't agree. He'll refuse and probably cry. The eunuch muttered to those around him, "Be prepared. If anything happens, we'll need to comfort the 18th prince." The emperor held the dress, his eyes full of anticipation as he looked at Gigi. Gigi's eyes lit up with the gleam of gold. He reached out and grabbed the dress. "Deal. I'll wear it." Then, to the astonishment of everyone present, he struck a pose of utter delight, cheering, 500 taels. 500 taels. I'm rich." Gigi, now dressed in the girl's attire, sat before a mirror as a nanny styled his hair. Once everything was finished, he demurely approached the emperor. The emperor turned and was immediately struck speechless by Gigi's adorable appearance. Ninth prince, at this moment, looked utterly innocent and adorable. The emperor, brimming with affectionate indulgence, scooped him up and nuzzled him. "My sweet ninth, how about you wear clothes like this from now on? Father Emperor has so many pretty things for little girls." "Ninth, whatever you want, Father Emperor will agree to. I won't refuse any of your requests." Ninth prince, inwardly thrilled, thought, "If only I could wear girls' clothes forever. This is wonderful." Aloud, he chirped, "I don't have any requests, Father Emperor. I really like wearing this." The emperor hoisted him higher, a satisfied grin spreading across his face. "With Ninth, it's like I finally have a daughter." "Ha." Ninth prince giggled along, the air filled with the sound of their shared laughter. Whispers and murmurs rippled through the onlookers. Consort Li and her son are driving everyone mad with their vying for favor. A prince dressed as a girl. If word of this gets out, the 18th prince will suffer for it. The emperor's tastes are truly unique. The 10th prince and 11th brother wore expressions of sullen resentment on behalf of their younger brother, forced into feminine attire. "Ninth, you must be so upset. Father Emperor's tastes are truly bizarre." "Don't worry, little brother. 10th brother will definitely find a way to get you back into your boy's clothes. First brother won't let anyone gossip. If anyone dares to say anything, I'll smash their mouth." Ninth prince, clutching the swing's chains, tightened his grip. "Don't worry, handsome brothers. I'm happy to wear girls' clothes." He almost forgot something important. Tomorrow, something big is going to happen. Whether second brother can get to know the crown prince and win Father Emperor's favor depends on tomorrow. A mischievous glint entered his eyes. "10th brother, first brother, will you come visit me tomorrow?" The two older princes, hearing the unspoken plea in Ninth prince's voice, felt a pang of worry. "We rarely even see the crown prince's face, let alone get to know him. Ninth is so young. Can he really help us?" The next day, Ninth prince followed his brothers to the elephant stables, hiding behind a pillar. "Why are we at the elephant stables?" he wondered silently. Of course it's because today, Crown Prince will come to the elephant stables to inspect the elephants. But unfortunately, he'll encounter a bull elephant in must and be seriously injured, almost losing his life. Then, Fong Kai Wei will save Crown Prince with her unique methods, and he'll fall deeply in love with her. When the Western Kingdom rebels, Crown Prince will even risk his life to protect her. But she doesn't actually love him. Lost in thought, Ninth Prince was oblivious to his brother's straining to catch every word of his silent musings. 10th brother, first brother, elephants are very dangerous. If someone is hurt by an elephant, will you save them? Both responded in unison, "Of course we would." Just then, a palace maid, spotting the partially hidden figures and mistaking them for the children of other servants, approached with a sneer. "You lowly brats, born to serving girls and unwanted, have nothing better to do than run around here? The Crown Prince will be arriving soon. Don't disturb His Highness." As soon as she finished speaking, a carriage stopped before them. The two princes hastily bowed. "Greetings, Your Highness, Crown Prince." The Crown Prince drew back the curtain. Today is the day for the elephant inspection to ensure there are no issues with their daily use. I am here on behalf of the Western Kingdom. Is there something wrong with this elephant? It seems rather agitated. The elephant keeper quickly explained, Your Highness, please keep your distance. This elephant is in must and extremely aggressive. It will attack people. Please be careful not to get hurt. Suddenly, the agitated elephant trumpeted loudly and, with a powerful kick, shattered the fence. The force of the impact sent the crown prince tumbling from his carriage. The ferocious elephant trumpeted relentlessly. The crown prince, wounded, lay sprawled near its massive feet. With the crown prince's life hanging by a thread, the 10th prince sprang into action, trying to distract the enraged beast. Hey, look over here, he shouted, waving a banana. The fruit you love is right here. Come and get it. The elephant, its attention caught, lumbered towards the 10th prince. The crown prince, seizing the precious opportunity, scrambled away from the immediate danger. The 9th prince, hidden nearby, cheered his brother on. 10th brother, you can do it. While the elephant was distracted, the 10th prince rushed to the crown prince's side and helped him up. But the elephant, realizing it had been tricked, spun around, its eyes blazing with fury. With a powerful swing of its trunk, the elephant slammed into the 10th prince's back. He cried out in pain. The crown prince, witnessing this, opened his eyes and cried out in alarm and concern, 10th brother. Thinking fast, the 10th prince grabbed a huge basket overflowing with fruit. Hey, over here, he yelled, trying to lure the elephant away again. Look, a whole basket of your favorite fruit. He hurled the basket towards the elephant's enclosure. As the elephant happily devoured the fruit, the 10th prince raced to the enclosure gate and slammed it shut. The 9th prince, watching from his hiding spot, let out a sigh of relief, wiping the sweat from his brow. Finally, it's over, he whispered. A wave of doubt washed over him. But that elephant was so strong. How could Fong Kaiwei possibly have saved the crown prince in the novel? Unseen, Fong Kaiwei herself watched the scene unfold from behind a pillar. As if sensing a presence, the 9th prince turned and glanced in her direction. Could she really have just stood by and watched? He thought. Someone so cold and uncaring, who wouldn't lift a finger to help, doesn't deserve the crown prince's affection. Someone like Lady Yuan, who remained unmarried her entire life for the crown prince, disguising herself as a man to fight for her country, enduring countless hardships and humiliation without betraying her people. She's the one truly worthy of him. I must help the crown prince find his true love, he resolved, approaching the injured princes. 10th brother, are you all right? Seeing the 10th prince trembling, the 9th prince reached out to steady him, but his hand quickly became stained with blood. The sight of it sent him reeling. Overcome by his fear of blood, he fainted. Your Majesty, a voice reported, the crown prince is unharmed, just a minor head injury. He needs rest. The emperor rushed to his son's side. Chung'er, you're finally awake. If anything had happened to you, how could I face your deceased mother? Your son was unfilial, causing you such worry. Father, the crown prince replied weakly. Father, I have something to say. Today, I owe my life to my 10th brother. Is your 10th brother all right? The emperor asked, startled. But I was told it was Princess Anyang who saved you. The servants in the elephant stable, realizing the potential implications, immediately fell to their knees, attempting to shield the truth from the crown prince. Your Highness must be mistaken, they insisted. We all saw it. It was Princess Anyang who saved you. Father, that's not true. The crown prince began, but the servants interrupted. Your Majesty, there's no doubt about it. It was Princess Anyang who saved His Highness. Your Majesty, Princess Anyang's bravery deserves a great reward. The emperor's voice thundered with anger. How dare you imply that the crown prince is lying to me? To speak out of turn about the crown prince is a crime punishable by death. Seize them. A seed of doubt had been planted in the emperor's mind. This supposed rescue, they're so eager for a reward. Something isn't right. Just then, a eunuch hurried in. Your Majesty, it's terrible. Something has happened at the Shui residence. Seeing the emperor's displeasure, the 18th eunuch quickly corrected himself. The 18th princess fainted. The scene shifted to the Shui residence. After examining the wound, the imperial physician instructed the 10th prince's wound must be kept dry. The dressing must be changed every 2 hours. Imperial physician, speak slower. I can't remember all of that. The emperor, arriving on the scene and worried about his 9th prince's supposed injury, exclaimed, Who's injured? Where's Jiujio? Where's my Jiujio? Father, I'm here. You finally came, the ninth prince chirped. Today, 10th brother lured the elephant with food. 11th brother took the opportunity to save the crown prince. They're both injured. The emperor scooped the ninth prince into his arms and then, coughing, looked at his other two sons. Ahem, I understand. 10th prince was injured by the elephant while saving the crown prince. 10th prince, you are a good child. You must visit the crown prince often and help him understand. Father, it was 10th brother and I who saved the crown prince. The 11th prince spoke up. If it weren't for 10th brother and the elephant trainer luring the elephant away, the crown prince and I would have been in grave danger. The emperor approached, placing a hand on 11th brother's shoulder in praise. 10th prince, you remain calm in the face of danger, resourceful and brave. Very good. You must also visit the crown prince often and help him. Yes, thank you, father. I will certainly live up to your expectations. The ninth prince, standing behind them, mused, My, it seems father has forgotten a certain liar. Startled, the emperor turned around. Does Giorgio think I'm such a foolish ruler? The ninth prince thought, what does father mean by looking at me like that? Meanwhile, in the eastern palace, consort Li, Feng Kai-wei, sat smugly, pleased with her plan. With this daring act of saving the crown prince, I'm sure I'll quickly regain favor. Then I'll triumph over that little fool, she thought. The crown prince and I already have a betrothal. Now that I've saved him, he's sure to fall deeply in love with me. While Feng Kai-wei was fantasizing about her bright future, the imperial decree arrived. Princess Anyang falsely claimed credit for saving someone and deceived the emperor. By law, she should be executed, but in consideration of her years of service, her death sentence shall be commuted. However, her title as Princess Anyang and her betrothal decree are hereby revoked. She is banished from the palace. Feng Kai-wei's limbs went numb. She couldn't believe her ears. What? After the crown prince was saved from the crazed elephant by the 10th and 11th princes, he was deeply grateful and brought gifts to visit them. The crown prince was filled with emotion, especially after his recent brush with death. This time, I'm lucky to have my 3 younger brothers. Otherwise, I might have been joining my ancestors. As he approached their quarters, he heard laughter spilling out. Giorgio. Inside, the 10th and 11th princes were chasing after the 9th prince. In their eyes, Giorgio was a priceless gift from heaven. Giorgio, you're truly our lucky star. Giorgio, stop running and let your older brothers kiss you. The 9th prince, running, covered their chubby cheeks with their hands. Oh no. No way, older brothers. I get kissed every day. It's tiring. The 9th prince, running headlong, suddenly collided with someone. Ouch! They cried out in pain. Looking up to see who it was, they found themselves face to face with the crown prince. The crown prince looked down at the 9th prince, his eyes lighting up. Is this 18th brother? You're truly adorable. The 9th prince's eyes also sparkled, their hopelessly love-struck nature on full display. They thought, Crown Prince has arrived. He's so handsome. The crown prince was startled to hear the 9th prince's inner thoughts. What is that sound? He wondered, bewildered. The 9th prince, noticing the crown prince's troubled expression, thought to himself, puzzled. What's wrong with elder brother, the crown prince? Of course, every single one of these thoughts reached the crown prince's ears. The crown prince suddenly understood. It was the 18th princess's thoughts he was hearing. A look of determination flashed across his face. He clenched his fist, trying to remain calm. Stay calm, he told himself. Everything makes sense. There's nothing strange about this. He leaned down, his voice filled with affection. 18th brother, let elder brother, the crown prince, hug you for a moment, all right? The 9th prince, ever understanding, tried to refuse. But crown prince elder brother, you're injured. Besides 9th, I'm not 18th brother, but 18th sister. Before the 9th prince could finish, the crown prince covered his mouth, preventing him from speaking. A worried expression on his face, the crown prince explained, it's father's fault for making you wear girls' clothes. Now you're confused about whether you're a boy or a girl, aren't you? The crown prince spoke with the desperation of one near tears, determined to correct the 9th prince's supposed misconception. He was, of course, completely unaware that the 9th prince was, in fact, a girl. 18th brother, you must remember, You are a real boy. Absolutely. Don't have any strange thoughts. The ninth prince, seeing the crown prince overreacting, was speechless and remained silent. The crown prince then turned his gaze towards the 8th and 10th princes. First and second brother, that day, you two risked your lives to save me. The crown prince, a man of loyalty and gratitude, placed his hand on his chest and declared resolutely, "Today, I swear here and now, I will protect you with my life, no matter the cost. If I break this oath, may heaven strike me down." The ninth prince, observing this scene, was deeply moved, yet couldn't help but lament the original storyline. Crown Prince Elder Brother is truly an upright person. It's a shame he was implicated by Fong Kai-wei and died in the original story. The Crown Prince froze at these words, but maintained a calm facade as he continued to listen to the ninth prince's thoughts. He never even knew that Lady Yuanin died for him in battle. Such a tragic love story. If only Crown Prince Elder Brother had married Lady Yuanin. The 18th princess and the 8th prince, with bewildered expressions, stood by, listening intently. That afternoon, the emperor, as usual, joined the ninth prince for lunch. As they ate, the emperor said, "The Grand Empress has been praying for the Western Chu Kingdom at Hanshan Temple for many years now. The Empress and consort Shu have been dutifully accompanying her. They are expected to return to the palace tomorrow." Hearing this, the ninth prince's mood soured. A look of displeasure crossed his face as he thought, that consort Shu is father's favorite. She's the one who will harm mother and betray the country in the future. The ninth prince glared at the emperor with undisguised hostility. Tomorrow, the villain arrives. I wonder if this clueless father of mine will even punish her. The emperor, overhearing his beloved child's inner thoughts, fell silent. Then, awkwardly, he tried to change the subject. "Ninth, are you not enjoying your meal?" The ninth prince's face remained clouded with displeasure. "Is this clueless father of mine an idiot?" He fumed inwardly. "How can I eat when mother and my real brother haven't been exonerated?" Seeing the ninth prince's simmering anger, the emperor nervously suggested, "How about father takes you to the imperial garden? We can see if there are any butterflies there." The ninth prince, for reasons unknown, instantly brightened. "Yes, let's go. Let's catch butterflies," he exclaimed excitedly. The emperor, his expression a mixture of exasperation and affection, stroked the ninth prince's head. Children were so easily appeased. He quickly led the ninth prince towards the imperial garden. The child skipped ahead, chasing butterflies, perhaps deliberately, perhaps not, leading the emperor along a particular path. They passed two figures whispering conspiratorially. "Have you heard? Tomorrow, the Grand Empress, the Empress, and consort Shu return to the palace." The other replied quickly, "Of course I've heard. Just wait until the Grand Empress returns. Consort Li and that traitorous 18th prince, the 9th prince, will be banished to the cold palace, you'll see. And consort Shu, she's always been the emperor's favorite. Once she's back, he'll likely forget all about those two." The 9th prince, pretending to pause in her butterfly chase, feigned a weary air and said listlessly, "I'm tired. I'm going back now." The emperor reached out to stop her, but the 9th prince added, "And no one is to follow me." He watched her small, solitary figure walk away, a look of bewilderment clouding his features. Fury ignited in the emperor's eyes. "Someone bring those gossiping fools to me," he roared. His gaze hardened. "Beat them to death, then have their heads thrown to the dogs." The next day, the emperor and a throng of officials stood outside the main hall, awaiting the Grand Empress's return. The 9th prince, a knot of anxiety in her stomach, looked up at her mother, Consort Li. "Mother," she whispered, "do you think the Grand Empress will like us?" Consort Li smiled gently, her face radiating kindness. "The Grand Empress is a very good person. Years ago, she realized I was pregnant with you and did everything she could to save my life." The 9th prince felt a flicker of reassurance. The emperor turned and offered his own comfort. "You're so adorable, 9th prince. Your grandmother will absolutely adore you." The 9th prince beamed, a smile that could melt the coldest heart. "So I don't have to be afraid anymore." Suddenly, a eunuch's voice rang out, "Welcome the Grand Empress." The Grand Empress appeared, her presence radiating authority. The Empress, clad in purple, supported her on one side, and behind them walked Consort Shu. The 9th prince bowed respectfully, her mind racing. "This Grand Empress seems formidable," she thought, "and she looks displeased. The Grand Empress surveyed the assembled crowd, her voice ringing with authority. It seems much has transpired in my absence. The Emperor stepped forward. Mother, you've finally returned. He gestured towards the ninth prince. Mother, this is my ninth son, whom I mentioned in my letters. The Grand Empress's gaze fell upon the ninth prince, a flicker of disapproval crossing her face as she noted the girl's feminine attire. The Emperor, noticing this, leaned closer. I insisted he wear these clothes. If you're displeased, blame me, not him. And don't blame consortly either. They're both innocent. The ninth prince's eyes welled with tears, especially as she met the Grand Empress's icy stare. Oh dear, her aura is so powerful, so stern, so scary. I'm terrified. The Grand Empress, to her surprise, heard the ninth prince's inner thoughts. A flicker of self-doubt crossed her face. Am I truly that frightening? She wondered. But the Grand Empress suddenly realized something wasn't right. Her expression shifted from alarm to anger. Hold on, something's not right here. How can I hear this child's thoughts? Realizing the ninth prince's unusual ability, the Grand Empress could only think to deflect the attention by throwing the Emperor under the bus. Your Majesty, how could you be so angry? You have such an adorable little princess, and you didn't tell anyone? Let me go back soon. The Grand Empress then forced a gentler demeanor, her voice softening as she approached the ninth prince. Sweet ninth prince, come let your Grand Empress hold you. The ninth prince, deeply suspicious of this sudden change in the Grand Empress's attitude, nevertheless obediently reached out and took her hand. Seeing the ninth prince's compliance, the Grand Empress was immensely pleased, her gaze softening considerably. How can there be such a lovely child in this world? Suddenly, the Grand Empress noticed something unusual about the ninth prince. Renowned for her sharp eyes, honed by years of navigating the intricacies of court politics, she immediately recognized the truth upon closer inspection. The bone structure, it's all the same. They're all blind. This is clearly a princess. Feeling the Grand Empress's intense gaze, the ninth prince cautiously called out, Grand Empress? Upon confirming that the ninth prince was indeed her true granddaughter, the Grand Empress's mood brightened considerably. She lovingly removed 2 precious heirloom bracelets and offered them to the child. My sweet ninth prince, these are a gift from your Grand Empress. Seeing the gold, the ninth prince's eyes lit up like headlights. She accepted them joyfully. I love Grand Empress the most. The Emperor, overhearing the words, love the most, sulked like he'd swallowed sour vinegar. Love the most, huh? You greedy little. The ninth prince's attention shifted to the Emperor. Excitedly, she called out to him, eager to show off her new bracelets. But Consort Shu quickly appeared at the Emperor's side, her face a mask of longing as she addressed him with feigned affection. The days I've spent away from you, your Majesty, I've missed you every single moment. In stark contrast to Consort Shu's expectant expression, the Emperor, having heard the ninth prince's inner thoughts, reacted coldly, pulling his hand away. Consort Shu, you've worked hard. The banquet is ready. Let's proceed. The Emperor hurried after the Grand Empress, saying, Mother, let me carry the ninth prince. Left standing alone, Consort Shu froze, completely stunned by the Emperor's rejection. Held securely in the Grand Empress's arms, the ninth prince playfully stuck her tongue out at the Emperor, leaving him bewildered and unsure of what he had done wrong. The banquet celebrating the Grand Empress's return commenced, filling the hall with music and dancing. The ninth prince sat obediently beside her, nibbling on pastries. The Grand Empress gazed at her only granddaughter with adoration. Even the Emperor couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. Mother, aren't you tired of holding the ninth prince? The Grand Empress responded with a playful, dismissive glance. Your Majesty, that's the 10th time you've asked. I'll say it one last time. I'm not tired. She offered another apple to the ninth prince. As the Emperor inwardly fumed, Consort Shu approached. Your Majesty, she purred, her voice dripping with saccharine sweetness, leaning close to him. I offer you a toast. I long for you day and night. Perhaps tonight, Your Majesty, you might consider gracing my chambers with your presence. The ninth prince watched with displeasure as Consort Shu sidled closer to the Emperor, shamelessly leaning against him despite the presence of others. Inwardly, the young prince fumed. That wicked woman. I hate her. Father wouldn't even glance her way if he had any sense. The Emperor, seemingly able to hear the ninth prince's thoughts, shifted uneasily, perhaps worried the child disliked him. The ninth prince continued their internal tirade. When will Father finally prove Mother's innocence? It's clear Consort Shu framed her for treason. That's a serious crime. The emperor, having heard every word, wore a pensive expression, his thoughts unreadable. Suddenly, he accepted the wine cup offered by Consort Shu. Without a word, he drained the cup. Consort Shu, delighted, practically glowed. She imagined the night ahead, filled with the emperor's favor 9 times. Having achieved her objective, she returned to her seat, not forgetting to cast a suggestive glance at the emperor as she purred. Your Majesty, I prepared a sobering tea in my chambers. I shall await your arrival tonight. After her flirtatious display in the main hall, Consort Shu hurried back to her chambers to prepare for the emperor's visit. But after a considerable wait, he still hadn't arrived, and her impatience grew. Why isn't His Majesty here yet? As she plotted ways to ensure the emperor stayed the night, a handmaiden rushed in, breathless and sweating from her haste. The handmaiden stammered, struggling to convey the news. Your Majesty, Your Majesty, he's taking many gifts to the Thursday Tui residence. Consort Shu's face contorted with a mixture of disbelief and fury. She sprang to her feet, shrieking, What? His Majesty abandoned me to go to that wretch. Consort Shu quickly redressed, her face a mask of thunder as she descended from her bed. I've only been gone for half a year, she seethed, grinding her teeth. I can't believe that in just half a year, Consort Lee has started to rise again, and she's been so busy. A eunuch, clearly intimidated, cautiously reported, It seems Consort Lee has employed some unknown method. His Majesty has shown exclusive favor to her recently. A handmaiden added, Indeed, even the 18th prince is being showered with affection. His Majesty hasn't even glanced at the other consorts. Consort Shu, enraged, hurled her teacup at the floor. It shattered, the sound echoing through the room. Consort Shu's face darkened, burning with jealousy and resentment. She muttered, Who does that Consort Lee think she is? How dare she compete with me for favor? Throwing caution to the wind, she revealed her past deeds. Last time, I framed her for treason, and she still lives. This time, I'll show her what I'm capable of. Consumed by rage, Consort Shu failed to notice the approaching footsteps. The newcomer was, of course, the emperor. He had heard every word she uttered. Outwardly, he maintained a cool composure, but inwardly, he sneered. This petty scheme has finally revealed its flaws. What a vicious woman. The emperor, seething, clenched his fist, struggling to contain his rage. A flicker of suspicion crossed his features. How could a mere concubine like Consort Shu have connections within the court? Consort Shu, oblivious to the impending doom, continued her venomous monologue, blinded by the machinations of palace intrigue. This time, I won't be so merciful as to simply banish her to the cold palace. I want to see her die a gruesome death. Ha ha ha. The emperor's face darkened further at her words. He subtly gestured to the eunuch standing behind him. Upon receiving the command, the eunuch swiftly closed the doors. Consort Shu's handmaid, noticing the emperor's presence, trembled, frantically trying to signal her mistress with her eyes. Blinded by fury, Consort Shu missed the warning. You wretched girl, what are you blinking at? I'm not the emperor. You can't seduce me. The handmaid, terrified that Consort Shu would reveal more, stammered, her face pale with fear. Why, Your Majesty, the emperor, he's here. Unseen, the emperor had approached, standing directly behind Consort Shu. His fury was now entirely focused on her. The words, the emperor is here, sent a chill down Consort Shu's spine. She froze, terrified that her earlier words had been overheard. Regaining her composure, Consort Shu quickly knelt, feigning composure as if nothing had happened. Why, Your Majesty, I greet Your Majesty, she stammered, fearfully probing. Your Majesty, when did you arrive? The emperor remained silent, fixing Consort Shu with a glacial stare, sharp as a blade. Without a word, he kicked her, sending her sprawling to the floor, crying out in pain. His face a mask of icy rage. The emperor spoke, his voice low and dangerous. I have never struck a woman before. Consort Shu, you're the first. You disgust me. Realizing her scheme had been discovered, Consort Shu, panicked at the thought of losing favor, clutched at the emperor's robe, desperately trying to explain. Your Majesty, I was just speaking nonsense. Those words weren't true. She attempted to deflect the blame. I simply love Your Majesty too much. I heard you were visiting Consort Lee, and I couldn't bear it. I was jealous, that's all. That's why I said those things. The emperor, disgusted by her blatant lies, roughly flung her hand away. Repulsed, the emperor turned to leave, but not before issuing his decree. Someone announced to the 6 palaces, Consort Shu, for plotting against the other consorts, is stripped of her rank and banished to the cold palace. Consort Shu collapsed onto the floor, her eyes vacant, unable to comprehend the swiftness of her downfall. The emperor, now certain of the 9th prince's words, fell into deep thought. The charges of treason against Consort Li are false. Clear her name and her family's name immediately. Have her brought back. As for the 3rd prince, he paused, stroking his chin. The emperor continued walking, lost in thought. The 3rd prince, I must find the right opportunity to release him. Otherwise, I won't be able to silence the court officials. The scene shifted to Thursday Tui residence, where the 9th prince sat on her bed, softly calling out for her mother. Her eyes, full of expectation, looked at her mother as she spoke. Mother, tell me one more story, and then I'll go to sleep, okay? Consort Li, with a mixture of exasperation and affection, smiled and agreed. You always wanting more, just like the Trung sisters. As the two were engrossed in their storytelling, a handmaiden entered and announced, Your Highness, a reward from the emperor has arrived. The arrival of a reward from the emperor, so late at night, left Consort Li bewildered. A reward this late? What's this all about? The 9th prince, eyes sparkling brighter than the stars at the sight of the overflowing chest, cheered, Mother, why is father suddenly giving us jewels? As both mother and daughter puzzled over the unexpected gift, the emperor himself entered calmly and softly addressed Consort Li. Surprised by his gentle tone, she responded with a questioning, Huh? The emperor, his face etched with remorse, looked at Consort Li. These past years, you have suffered greatly. I heard with my own ears Consort Shu confess to forcing you to take the blame for her treason. I shouldn't have been so hasty in sending you to the cold palace. Consort Li's face clouded with a touch of sadness, but her reply was soft. Your Majesty, what's past is past. One must let go of the past to embrace the future. Seeing her understanding nature, the emperor felt a pang of guilt. Are you not angry with me? Consort Li shook her head and sighed. This concubine wouldn't dare. The emperor, seeing her expression, tensed slightly. So, you are angry with me. The 9th prince, observing her parents, thought to herself, a man, especially the emperor, asking a woman if she's angry with him. That means he likes her, right? The 9th prince's gaze shifted to the emperor, her eyebrows raised in suspicion. Father, you wouldn't have suddenly taken a liking to mother, would you? Overhearing his daughter's thoughts, the emperor blushed slightly, inwardly scolding, this little rascal. Consort Li, also privy to her daughter's inner monologue, her expression softening, looked at the 9th prince. Silly child, what do you understand about liking or disliking? The emperor doesn't like anyone. A wave of emotion washed over Consort Li. She reached out and gently stroked the 9th prince's head, leaving the child blinking in confusion. Without even glancing at the emperor, Consort Li spoke in a low voice, subtly hinting that he should leave. Your Majesty, it's late. You should return to your chambers and rest. The emperor hesitated, unsure of how to respond. But tonight, I want to stay here with you. Consort Li didn't object outright, but her words carried an evasive tone. Your Majesty, if you wish to stay, you may. But this concubine should still retire to the side chamber. The emperor, aware of his past transgressions, sighed in resignation. Very well, then. He gave up on persuading Consort Li and walked over to scoop up the 9th prince. His eyes softened as he looked at the 9th prince, his voice warm as he addressed Consort Li. I will wait until you willingly accept my presence. I'll return to my chambers now. 9th prince, come sleep with me tonight. Without waiting for a response, he carried the 9th prince away. Consort Li, watching them go, felt a metaphorical flock of crows fly overhead. She reached out as if to stop them, but found herself without an excuse. The 9th prince, quickly grasping the emperor's intentions, inwardly grumbled, Father, you're so cunning. Mother doesn't need you, so you're using me as a shield. I'm only 9, and I have to bear so much responsibility. Hearing his daughter's thoughts, the emperor silently praised her intelligence, his gaze filled with affection and adoration. And so, the 9th prince spent the night in the emperor's chambers. As the first rays of dawn peeked through the windows, she stirred, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. The emperor, now dressed in his formal attire, noticed the ninth prince stirring from sleep. Turning his head with a doting smile, he asked, "Awake, Giorgio? Father will take you to court." Giorgio's jaw dropped in surprise at the mention of attending court. "Take me to court?" she wondered. While Giorgio was still reeling in astonishment, the emperor, beaming with uncontainable joy, quickly took her hand and led her away. Unreservedly, he held Giorgio in his arms before the assembled court officials. Bursting with pride, the emperor thought, "I must let everyone know I have a precious daughter. My daughter is the most adorable, the most innocent, the gentlest, and the most charming." He sighed, then added to his thoughts, "Even though she's only a girl disguised as a boy, haha." Though harboring their own suspicions, the court officials, faced with the emperor's imposing presence, hastened to ingratiate themselves. Each one, with a bright, flowery smile, thought, "The 18th princess is truly a child of privilege. She clearly holds the emperor's favor." Outside the main hall, the incessant clang of chains drew the officials' attention, causing them to turn and look. General Chuya was led in. Not only were his hands bound, but his feet were also shackled. Though his appearance was somewhat disheveled, it did little to diminish the aura of a seasoned warrior. The emperor, his gaze piercing, addressed him. "The Western campaign has suffered repeated defeats. A general's incompetence can ruin an army. What say you to your crimes?" General Chuya didn't shirk responsibility. Repeatedly kowtowing, he confessed, "This humble servant is worthy of death. I implore your majesty to pronounce my sentence." Giorgio, seated beside the emperor, fidgeted nervously, thinking, "How can I let father know how capable General Chu truly is?" His repeated defeats were orchestrated by Consort Shu. He was poisoned and controlled, which led to the losses. None of this was intentional. He is utterly loyal to Shi Sua. Giorgio's gaze, tinged with sadness, fell upon the kneeling general, who continued to berate himself. Poor General Chu. His 3 sons and daughter all died on the battlefield. His wife was captured by the southern kingdom. To prevent her humiliation and betrayal of Shi Sua, he drew his own bow and ended her life. As the emperor listened to these unspoken thoughts, his expression shifted repeatedly. He hadn't realized the extent of Chuya's sacrifices for Shi Sua. Giorgio remained deep in thought. He sacrificed so much, yet never spoke of it, never claimed credit. This truly shows his character. The emperor's heart stirred. His face grew solemn as he thought. Chuya's sons, daughter, and even his wife, all dead, and so tragically. If not for Giorgio, I would have remained ignorant. He felt a surge of gratitude for his daughter. Tenderly, he stroked her head. Several officials stepped forward to voice their concerns. "Your Majesty, General Chu was once undefeated against the Southern Kingdom. He was a brilliant strategist. Yet, in this recent conflict, he has suffered repeated losses. We cannot help but suspect treachery." The clamor for Chuya's punishment grew louder. "Your Majesty, Shi Sua cannot tolerate a traitor. We implore you to deal with Consort Shu as you would with General Chu." Giorgio watched, a frown knitting her brows, as the officials clamored without knowing the full truth. Their agitation irritated her. It seemed they weren't truly concerned for her father, the emperor, but were merely encouraging him to execute someone. If Shi Sua truly lost General Chuya, a general who had never lost a battle, the morale of the troops would plummet, rendering the army useless. Then, the calamity predicted for Shi Sua 10 years hence would be unavoidable, playing out exactly as described in the books. There would be no one left who could defend the kingdom like General Chu, and Shi Sua would inevitably fall. Giorgio sighed inwardly. She could only hope her father would be wise enough to understand General Chuya's suffering and importance, and spare his life. The emperor's face was etched with tension as he listened to Giorgio's inner thoughts. He mentally processed her concerns, searching for the best course of action. Noticing her fidgeting anxiously, he gently patted her and said soothingly, "Giorgio, be still. Your father will handle these matters of state." The emperor swiftly made his decision. "Prime Minister, Minister of Justice, hear my decree. I command you both to investigate the reasons behind General Chuya's recent string of defeats. Investigate his family thoroughly as well. Once the investigation is complete, we will decide how to deal with General Chu. For now, keep him imprisoned and instruct the Deputy Director of the Imperial Medical Academy to attend to his wounds." Not only were the court officials stunned by this command, but even General Chuya himself was taken aback. He had assumed this day would mark his utter ruin, but the emperor's unexpected decree offered a glimmer of hope. Jiao beamed, delighted with her father's handling of the situation. Yes, yes. Sending the deputy director of the Imperial Medical Academy is much better. That director only knows how to treat women's ailments. He's renowned as a master of gynecology, a women's specialist, not skilled in treating battle wounds. The Emperor sided her reasoning, but conceded nonetheless. Very well, we'll send the deputy director. The director must remain available to attend to the consorts in the harem. Jiao, surprised and touched that the Emperor had echoed her thoughts, gazed at him with wide, adoring eyes, making him sweat slightly under her intense gaze. Wow, father, you're so smart and brave. Completely different from that crazy, blind tyrant in the books. And you even understand Jiao's thoughts. She felt an overwhelming urge to kiss him. Acting on impulse, and to the Emperor's astonishment, she planted a kiss on his cheek. The Emperor looked at Jiao with tender affection. Today, I managed to retain a vital pillar of our kingdom. I am at peace. Jiao, her eyes crinkling with a happy smile, replied, Yes, Jiao is at peace too. In her excitement, Jiao climbed onto the Emperor, wanting to ruffle his hair in praise. Resigned yet indulgent, the Emperor allowed her to do as she pleased. Jiao, be careful. She scrambled up, standing on his shoulders. With great enthusiasm, she grabbed handfuls of his hair and began to braid it. After a while, she had tied a comically large bow in his hair. Beaming with pride, she declared, Father looks so handsome. He. The Emperor remained unfazed, his only concern Jiao's happiness. The nearby eunuch, however, was pale with horror, frantically waving his hands. 18th Princess. This is damaging to the Emperor's dignity. The Emperor immediately cut him short, seemingly quite pleased with this arrangement. It's all right as long as Jiao likes it, he said. The eunuch, hearing this, could only remain silent, not daring to utter another word. Truly, these two, father and daughter, had peculiar tastes. After a while, the Emperor carried Jiao off to read with him. Jiao, nestled in the Emperor's lap, propped her chin on her hand, lost in thought. She couldn't understand why General Chuya had endured such hardship and suffering, yet no one seemed to know about it. As she thought of General Chuya, the Emperor listened intently, trying to discern what was going through her mind. Jiao slowly recalled what she had read before. Logically, with such a significant event, even if General Chuya hadn't spoken of it, her father should have at least heard whispers. But judging by his demeanor, he seemed completely unaware of everything the general had endured. Could someone be deliberately suppressing this information from reaching the Emperor's ears? Their purpose, she mused, must be to use her father's unwitting hand to eliminate one of the kingdom's most vital pillars. The Emperor's face darkened at the thought of being manipulated. He set the memorial he was holding down on the table, no longer able to concentrate on its contents. I want to personally investigate this matter, he declared. I need to understand every aspect to avoid punishing the wrong person. The Emperor looked at Jiao, his voice softening. Jiao, go back to your mother for now. I must investigate this. When I've finished and dealt with what needs to be done, I'll come and see you. Jiao's eyes shone with admiration for her father. She gazed at his retreating back, her voice filled with excitement. Father is so strong and powerful. The Emperor, basking in the praise, beamed with self-satisfaction. After confirming some details, the Emperor went to the general's residence and summoned General Chuya for questioning. Looking at the general kneeling before him, the Emperor felt a knot of unease in his stomach. Before summoning you, he began, I visited the Dali temple to inquire about the situation. General Chuya, speak freely. What do you have to say? General Chuya, his face etched with sorrow, hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. Your Majesty, if I speak, you may not believe me. It might be better to remain silent. The Emperor's face hardened with imperial authority. Whether I believe you or not is for me to decide. If you have something to hide, speak now. Emboldened by the Emperor's words, General Chuya began his accusation. It's all Qian Wenxin's doing. With each mention of the name, the general's hands clenched into fists. He recounted everything that had transpired, his voice thick with anger. Even matters within my own household and many military affairs were blocked from being reported to you, Your Majesty. I was constantly on campaign, unable to present myself before you. Last year, when I set out for Lianghua, our provisions were sabotaged multiple times because of him. I suspect he is a spy for Lianghua. The emperor, his face a mask of shock, rose abruptly to his feet. A spy, he echoed, the thought of another traitor within his ranks chilling him to the bone. General Chuya, fearing the emperor's disbelief, repeatedly kowtowed. Your Majesty, if you find my words baseless, please consider them unheard. I will find evidence to prove my claims. The emperor, his face weary, stood and shook his head slowly. Very well, he said. General Chuya, focus on recovering from your injuries. Before departing, he added, I will personally investigate this matter and uncover the truth. Returning to his study after reviewing the gathered intelligence, the emperor hurled the documents to the floor in a fit of rage. His face, a mask of fury, he roared, that damned Qian Wenxin. He presents a facade of loyalty, a record seemingly spotless. Yet, he very nearly sold my Shisuo to the enemy. The reports the emperor clutched were the fruits of the Shuizi, the emperor's personal network of spies. He massaged his temples, the weight of Qian Wenxin's treachery a palpable ache. The silver mines lost to Lianghua the year before last, he muttered, his voice thick with anger. General 1 and 3,000 cavalry slaughtered on the battlefield last year. The burning of our grain supplies this year. General Chu Yin nearly annihilated. And behind it all, he spat, the fingerprints of Qian Wenxin. A wave of exhaustion washed over the emperor. The very foundations of Shisuo seemed to tremble. One treacherous concubine in the inner palace is enough to bear, he thought, his fists slamming against the table. Now a traitor like Qian Wenxin in the court. Jujie was right. With these two vipers, Shisuo's destruction is all but assured. That we've survived these 15 years is a mercy from the heavens. His face hardening with resolve, the emperor issued his decree. For colluding with the enemy and betraying the kingdom, Qian Wenxin is sentenced to death. His entire family is to be executed, and the treacherous concubine, Wei Nyang, is to be hanged at the city gates as a warning to all. The Shuizi responded in unison, Yes, Your Majesty. A measure of peace settled over the emperor. One threat to Shisuo, at least, was neutralized. His affection for Gio deepened. She is my lucky star, he mused. No, she is the lucky star of all Shisuo. The thought of Gio brought a pang of longing. He turned to the eunuch. Where is Gio? What's she doing? The eunuch bowed low. Your Majesty, the princess is with His Highness, the Crown Prince. He added quickly, Your Majesty, the emissaries from Lianghua will be arriving shortly to negotiate peace terms, having been defeated in battle. They will return the occupied lands and offer reparations. His Highness is overseeing the reception. The princess, enjoying such festivities, has been inseparable from His Highness these past few days. Gio, meanwhile, was engrossed in a scroll entitled 108 Ways to Conquer Foreign Emissaries. After a time, her head began to swim. She slumped against the crown prince, her expression dazed. Oh heavens, she thought, these endless characters. My head is spinning. I need oxygen. The crown prince, overhearing her inner monologue, chuckled softly. His affection for her grew with each passing day. His gaze lingered on her face. A voice broke the spell. Zhao Air, it said, burn some incense to clear your mind. The crown prince tore his eyes away. Yes, mother. Gio stiffened at the sound of the voice. Zhao Air, his mother is here with him? This is not good, she thought anxiously. Her eyes fell upon the incense burner in the handmaiden's grasp. Her expression darkened. This is poison. She's a spy. The crown prince, hearing her thoughts, froze. His eyes darted towards the handmaiden. Gio's inner voice echoed in his ears. She's going to harm Shisuo, and even you, brother. The crown prince eyed the handmaiden, suspicion churning within him. Perhaps he still couldn't quite believe Gio's words. Could Zhao and I truly be a spy? The handmaiden, Zhao and I, approached with a censer, her steps measured, her voice soft as she addressed him. Your Highness. Gio's gaze remained fixed on Zhao and I, not missing a single movement. This Zhao and I is no ordinary servant, she thought, her heart pounding. A spy from Lianghua, and one who carries poison. Gio recalled the events she'd glimpsed in her visions, a wave of apprehension washing over her. Shisuo, weakened by successive defeats, had been forced to receive an envoy from Lianghua. It was then that Zhao and I had colluded with the envoy, staging a fake poisoning to feign his death. The deception had cost Shi Suo 5 cities. The memory made Zhio's blood run cold. Though Shi Suo was victorious now, and there was no immediate threat of poisoning, Zhao Ni's scheme would still cast a dark shadow over their victory. She would poison the envoy, making it appear as though Shi Suo had murdered him. The resulting outcry from other nations would force Shi Suo to cede land, with no way to prove their innocence. Zhio's small face crumpled with displeasure. She unconsciously tightened her grip on the small pet she held in her arms. We fought so hard for this victory, she thought, sighing inwardly. We must reclaim our lost territories and receive reparations, or this war will have been fought in vain. The crown prince, listening intently, felt a knot tighten in his stomach. His face grew serious as he pondered Zhio's words, analyzing their implications. There was an ancient, inviolable rule: never harm an envoy during wartime. If the Lianghua envoy died in Shi Suo, their victory would turn to ashes, and his position as crown prince would be in jeopardy. Zhao and I, having placed the censor, bowed and inquired if His Highness required anything further. The crown prince's fondness for his handmaiden evaporated. "You may leave," he said, his voice flat. His mind raced. Zhao and I, and her incense. If she uses it to poison someone, it will be difficult to stop her. And even if I eliminate her, there will be countless others to take her place. What can I do to prevent Shi Suo from suffering the fate Zhio foresees? A new thought struck him. What if I drink the poison wine meant for the envoy? If I'm poisoned, their scheme will fail, and they'll still have to cede land and pay reparations. He hesitated. The risk was immense. But if I'm poisoned and there's no antidote, I'll die a fool's death. The crown prince sighed, a tinge of regret coloring his thoughts. He hadn't yet achieved any great feats, hadn't even taken a wife or fathered children. He hadn't even met the young lady from the Yu family that Zhio had mentioned before. Lost in this whirlwind of anxieties, Zhio's voice cut through, a beacon in his troubled mind. She was practically vibrating with excitement over the plan she concocted. If he could secretly find the antidote where the emissaries are staying, and then produce it after they're poisoned, we could expose Lianghua's scheme to frame Shi Suo. The more she spoke, the more animated she became. Just imagine, Shi Suo could go from being on the defensive to taking the initiative. We could even force them to cede more land and pay more reparations than they initially planned. The crown prince pulled Zhio into a hug, feeling as though she were a savior sent to illuminate his path. That's it. Why didn't I think of something so simple? Why was I fixated on that foolish idea of poisoning myself? Zhio, meanwhile, was still basking in the brilliance of her plan, her eyes shining, oblivious to the shift in the crown prince's demeanor. Suddenly, the crown prince bent his head and placed a light, affectionate kiss on Zhio's cheek. She recoiled, utterly bewildered, unsure of what had just transpired. To the crown prince, Zhio was a precious treasure bestowed upon him by the heavens. He held her in the highest regard. Zhio is so clever, he thought. She truly is my lucky star. Zhio, finally recovering from the unexpected kiss, brought her hands to her face, groaning in exasperation. "Crown Prince, what was that? My face has been kissed by an old man again." She huffed and puffed her way back to her quarters, where she eagerly set about preparing medicine with her small hands. A self-satisfied smile played on her lips as she stroked her chin. "It's a good thing I remember so many of the orphanage director's remedies from my past life. If the crown prince can't find the antidote, I can make a universal one for him." At this thought, she jumped up, stretching her arms high in a gesture of triumph. This display of exuberance was witnessed by the emperor and consort Li as they approached. The emperor, a look of concern on his face, asked, "Who's ill? Where's the imperial physician? Why is Zhio grinding medicine?" Consort Li offered a gentle explanation. "Your Majesty, no one is ill. Zhio simply wanted to play with the medicinal ingredients." The emperor, reassured, immediately turned to a nearby eunuch and commanded, "Quickly inform the Imperial Medical Academy that all the medicinal ingredients Princess Zhio requires are to be delivered for her amusement." The eunuch, well aware of the emperor's adoration for Zhio, bobbed his head in fervent agreement. "Yes, your Majesty." The emperor then approached Zhio, his voice brimming with affection. Jiao, do you need any assistance? Hearing the familiar voice, Jiao looked up, her eyes sparkling as she offered the pestle to the emperor. Yes, this is very important, father. You must be strong. The emperor, filled with enthusiasm, rolled up his sleeves, ready to get to work. Seeing this, the eunuch quickly intervened. Your Majesty, your esteemed self shouldn't exert yourself. Allow this old servant to assist. The emperor, however, refused. No need. Let me help Jiao. The emperor's hands moved swiftly and tirelessly, grinding with a steady rhythm. Watching him, Jiao, her eyes full of adoration, showered him with praise. Wow, Father Emperor, you're truly amazing. This medicine needs to be ground into the smallest pieces possible, the smaller the better. Beaming at his beloved daughter's compliments, the emperor's eyes crinkled with delight, his hands working even more diligently. Hours passed, and finally, Jiao completed the antidote. She happily held the small bottle, excitedly proclaiming, "The universal antidote is complete." Her cheerful expression quickly turned somber as she thought about the insidious schemes of Lianghua. I really want to eradicate all those who harm others in this world, she muttered to herself. Yes, eradicate them all to get rid of this frustration. Hearing her continuous grumbling, the emperor chuckled softly and then lifted her up. All right, my little princess, it's time for us to have lunch. Inside Consort Li's palace, a table laden with steaming hot food awaited them. The emperor settled Jiao on his lap, his voice overflowing with affection. Please, my little princess, have a seat. A warmth spread through Jiao's heart, and she couldn't help but tear up slightly, thinking, these words sound so familiar. I heard them in my past life, but no one has ever said them to me before. In this life, finally, someone sees me as a princess. Unable to contain the surge of emotion, she leaned forward and gently kissed her adoptive father on the cheek. The emperor, experiencing such closeness from her for the first time, felt a surge of energy. His joy was uncontainable, shining brightly in his eyes. Jiao actually kissed me. Like a child, the emperor bustled around her. Princess, please take your chopsticks. Princess, please hold your bowl. My dear princess, open your mouth. Let your father emperor feed you. Jiao couldn't help but giggle at his antics. She wished time could stop right at this moment. Consort Li, watching the deepening affection between father and daughter, breathed a sigh of relief. The pressure and worry she had been carrying gradually began to lift. The three of them enjoyed their meal together, their laughter and conversation filling the air, bringing a vibrant energy to the Shisua Palace. 3 days later, in the Grand Hall, the emperor brought Jiao with him to receive the envoy from Lianghua. The eunuch's voice rang out, announcing, "The envoy from Lianghua has arrived at court to pay their respects." Upon entering, the envoy immediately knelt and addressed the emperor. Your Majesty, Emperor of Shisua, we have come to the capital to negotiate peace with your empire. The emperor's gaze was stern, his voice carrying the icy authority of a sovereign. Very well. Someone bring seats. The envoy from Lianghua raised a cup of wine, offering an unctuous smile. To demonstrate our sincerity, let us each toast the Emperor of Shisua. The emperor looked at the wine in the envoy's hand, a cryptic smile playing on his lips. I have a daughter now, and she dislikes the smell of alcohol. I shall drink tea instead of wine. Jiao immediately recognized her adoptive father's intentions. So, the reason he'd summoned her to the Grand Hall was simply to show off his daughter to the world. This realization added a new layer of meaning to the look she gave him, a look noticed by many surprised onlookers. Just as the Lianghua envoy finished his drink, he clutched his mouth, coughing violently. He then staggered, spitting out a mouthful of black blood before collapsing unconscious on the floor. The other Lianghua envoys feigned concern, their questioning gazes fixed on the emperor. Your Majesty, what's wrong with our ambassador? Why is he bleeding black blood? Could he be poisoned? Poisoned immediately after drinking wine? What is the meaning of this? This must be the work of Shisua. We came here seeking an alliance, and this is how we are treated. Your Majesty, you must give us justice. Our ambassador cannot die in vain. The emperor's face darkened at this unexpected turn of events. If the Lianghua envoy died in the Shisua Grand Hall, Even jumping into the Yellow River wouldn't wash away the stain on their reputation. He turned to his son. Crown Prince, what is happening? Seeing the Crown Prince's calm demeanor, Giorgio's heart fluttered with excitement. It seems Crown Prince brother has found evidence proving they poisoned themselves, she thought. The Emperor, hearing her inner voice, breathed a sigh of relief. So that's it. The Crown Prince and Giorgio knew about this beforehand. Then I can rest easy. Several people related to Giorgio, standing behind her, also heard her thoughts. Their expressions flickered with surprise, but relief quickly followed. The 18th prince, or rather, the 18th princess. How can I hear her thoughts? Could this be an auspicious sign for Shi Suo? The Crown Prince produced a vial of antidote, his face calm and confident as he reassured the Emperor. Father, please do not panic. I have a solution. He looked at the vial, a surge of excitement rising within him. Thanks to Giorgio's plan, I was able to find the antidote from the Lianghua envoy's belongings. She truly is my savior. The Lianghua envoys' faces paled as they recognized the familiar vial in the Crown Prince's hand. A sense of foreboding washed over them. The Crown Prince approached the lead Lianghua envoy, his gaze unwavering and his voice ringing with authority and a hint of challenge. The people of Shi Suo, whether in victory or defeat, are always honest and would never poison themselves. If you wish to invite someone from the Supreme Alliance to mediate, feel free to do so. Soon after, 3 representatives from the Supreme Alliance entered the Shi Suo Grand Hall. Upon their arrival, 2 of the Lianghua envoys rushed forward, weeping and accusing. Your Excellencies, you must bring us justice. It is a violation of the warrior's code to harm an envoy, yet the Shi Suo royal family disregarded this, brazenly poisoning our ambassador. Lu Min, a member of the Supreme Alliance, glanced at the Shi Suo emperor without bothering to inquire about the details. He quickly condemned Shi Suo. Your Majesty, the Lianghua envoy was poisoned and rendered unconscious during a banquet in Shi Suo. It seems clear that the perpetrator must be a member of your royal family. Do you have anything to say in your defense? One of the Lianghua envoys, emboldened, chimed in, Exactly. They must pay dearly for their actions. Only then will they learn their lesson. The Crown Prince suddenly smiled coldly. Oh, is that so? And how exactly should we pay? The Lianghua envoy seized the opportunity, proposing that the initial agreement of Shi Suo ceding land as compensation be nullified. Furthermore, he demanded an apology from the Shi Suo emperor. The emperor gave a cold laugh. Holding Giorgio close, he spoke without a trace of deference. It seems to me that your Lianghua poisoned yourselves to frame Shi Suo. Your aim was to lose without having to cede land, wasn't it? Seeing her adoptive father voice her own thoughts so perfectly, Giorgio chimed in, Exactly. There's no other explanation. The Lianghua envoy faltered slightly, his face tightening, but he continued to bluster. Do you have proof? The Crown Prince, holding a small porcelain bottle of antidote, responded firmly to the envoy. Of course. I found this antidote on the person of your envoy at your Lianghua delegation's lodgings. The Lianghua envoy stiffened. He vehemently denied the antidote belonged to them. We don't recognize this. We haven't done anything. We don't know anything about it. How can your highness prove that this antidote was found at our lodgings? Don't think that just because you produce a porcelain bottle like the ones we use in Lianghua, it automatically belongs to us. The Crown Prince, confident in his strategy, didn't bother arguing directly. This is quite simple. He handed the bottle to the Imperial Physician. Imperial Physician, you just examined the Lianghua envoy and saw the poison affecting him, but you couldn't identify the specific toxin, correct? Now, I'm giving you this antidote. If you examine it alongside the poison envoy, you should be able to determine the type of poison, shouldn't you? The Imperial Physician accepted the bottle respectfully. Yes, Your Highness. Although my knowledge is limited and I cannot formulate an antidote myself, if I have the antidote, I can certainly identify the poison. He opened the bottle and carefully sniffed its contents. As the Crown Prince had anticipated, after a moment, the Imperial Physician spoke. I know what this is. I've encountered this scent before in Lianghua. The image of a poisonous plant flashed through his mind. This poison is likely derived from the red thorn. This poison is sensitive to temperature, and only the Lianghua royal family possesses the means to create its antidote. The Crown Prince, pleased with this confirmation, turned to the representatives of the Supreme Alliance. In that case, we will submit this antidote to the esteemed representatives of the alliance for verification. A simple test will confirm its efficacy. The imperial physician, on the crown prince's instruction, presented the antidote to the alliance. Lu Min, a member of the Supreme Alliance, took the antidote and slowly approached the poisoned Lianghua envoy, who lay sprawled on the ground. He opened the bottle and held it near the envoy's nose. The envoy, previously assumed to be unconscious, suddenly gasped and opened his eyes after a few whiffs of the antidote. Witnessing this swift recovery, Lu Min exclaimed in surprise, "It truly is the antidote." The two other Lianghua envoys standing behind, their scheme exposed, paled, their faces draining of color. The 8 Lianghua envoys knelt prostrate on the ground, fear gripping them, not daring to utter a word. Lu Min, irritated by their manipulative tactics, sternly questioned them. "Envoys of Lianghua, do you confess to the crime of poisoning yourselves in an attempt to frame Shi Suo?" The 3 Lianghua envoys knew they couldn't escape their predicament, no matter how much they argued. Swiftly, they admitted their guilt. "We were wrong. We were wrong. We poisoned ourselves to frame Shi Suo. We beg your majesty, the emperor of Shi Suo, for forgiveness." The emperor, facing these 3 audacious individuals, let out a chilling laugh. "Only now do you beg for mercy? Weren't you quite arrogant before?" Lu Min of the Supreme Alliance stepped forward, clasped his hands, and bowed. "Your Majesty, Emperor of Shi Suo, the matter is clear." Lianghua's shameless audacity, coupled with this act of sabotage, compounds their crimes. Originally, Lianghua was to cede territory and offer reparations to Shi Suo, but now, it seems, double the compensation is required to ensure justice. Hearing this unexpected outcome, Jiuzhou's gaze towards the crown prince shone brighter than any star. She gave him a thumbs up, praising, "Excellent work, Crown Prince, brother." The Crown Prince, basking in Jiuzhou's praise, beamed, a wide smile plastered on his face. And so, our recap of the latest episode, number 16, concludes here. Since the author only releases 1 episode a week, every Tuesday, I can't make these longer for you all. I hope you understand. Thank you for always supporting my channel. I love you all very, very much.